What is one secret your parents can never know? My sister and I were reading through my mom's old high school yearbook, and we kept seeing everyone's sign saying something along the lines of, "Congrats. You and X are perfect together. X is not our dad." And we had never heard X's name mentioned before. After a little more digging, we found out she had married X right out of high school, divorced, then married our father. Neither of us really cared, but it was still a huge shock she hasn't told us now that we're both in our mid-20s. Well, I would say you dodged a bullet there, 'cause now X likes to mess around with married women. When I got engaged, my very Catholic mother whispered to me, "Has he tried to kiss you yet?" I'm a semi-famous dominatrix, and have been since 3 years before she asked that question. How to use a computer, apparently. When I was younger, I read in my mom's journal that she had an abortion before she was pregnant with me. She doesn't know that I know, and I'm not sure how she would react. I'm just glad they decided to keep the second pregnancy. Dear Diary, today I took care of a little problem. Quote, Dear Diary, 8 months ago I thought I had taken care of a second little problem, but it does not seem like it worked. When I was 8, me and my sister cracked my dad's chessboard. We hid the pieces in someone else's trash can. My dad has had it since he was 11. He was 46 at the time and he was fuming mad. He thought he lost it, and he still does. Looking back, do you think he could have repaired the chessboard? I would feel so guilty if I realized later that I not only broke it, but removed any possible chance of closure. My dad always tells me I was so whipped by my girlfriend back in high school, and the example he always uses is that one time she told me to change out of my sweatshirt. What really happened is that she pointed out the huge cum stain that she left on my sweatshirt the night before, and I figured I should change it to avoid awkwardness on our day out with my family. So, when I was 6 or 7, we had Christmas with the extended family. One of my uncles was there, and I was always a bit afraid of him because he had done some time for a drug charge and just gotten out within the last year or 2. Anyway, I walk into the kitchen at one point, and he is there with this giant wedge of cheese. He looks up and asks if I wanted any. I nod, because I love cheese. He says, "Okay, but you cannot tell your parents because you'll ruin your dinner, they will get mad at me," and he slices me a few pieces. We eat in silence and then I leave, convinced that I was an accomplice in some terrible act with my ex-con uncle. To this day, I have never told my parents. As to what would happen if they found out, well, then they would know that the reason I didn't eat that one Christmas dinner in the early 90s was because I had already filled up on expensive cheese. After my sis died, I locked myself in her room and went through everything alone before her friends or my parents went through her stuff to pack it away or give it to her friends. I found naked pics, empty bottles of alcohol, and a letter she had wrote, but I guess never gave, to her then boyfriend, telling him the story of how she was raped as a younger teenager. I threw everything like that out but kept that letter. It's been 12 years and I just found the letter again as I was packing up to make room for baby. I can't bring myself to throw it away. Good on you for being that filter. I shudder to think about people going through my shit after I die and finding all my skeletons. Is there an official term for this? Should this be a thing? I need to designate someone to do this, otherwise I'll ruin a lot of memories of me. I suggest the term Halo Maker, because they make sure you're remembered as an angel. My address. My parents are psychotic. We'll find it sooner or later, dear. I was 10-ish and my dad had just painted the boiler room door orange in our basement. My younger brother and I were pushing each other around on a skateboard in basement, and my dad warned us, "Don't you dare hit this door with your skateboard." 15 minutes later, I'm picking my brother up from the ground and looking at a hole in my dad's orange door caused by said skateboard. Definitely not telling dad. Instead, I grab a piece of orange construction paper and a glue stick to patch the hole. It matched surprisingly well. 27 years later, that construction paper is still holding strong, and I have never heard a word about it from my pop. Well, it is construction paper that one of my childhood friends and I used to play with each other's penises. It was fun, and we liked it. I'm a married, straight guy, but this information would shorten their lifespan undoubtedly. Experimenting like that when you're young is common, natural, and harmless. Nothing to worry about. I was brought up in a pretty religious home. My family had me in theater, choir, youth group, and all kinds of other extracurricular activities to keep me out of trouble, so they trusted me pretty well. One night I was about 15. My boyfriend at the time had come over to watch movies. The stipulation was that we could lay in the bed and watch the movie, but the door had to be open. After a while, my mom came in to check on us and everything was fine, so she thanked my boyfriend for being a gentleman and shut the door on her way out. Immediately, as if the door shut had triggered some teenage hormone overload, we started making out and fooling around. He slid his hand up my shirt for a bit, but finally having some privacy, I soon directed his hand to my nether bits. Yay, first not self-stimulated orgasm. We never got caught, which was considered a major triumph. And we found ways after that to hook up without my parents knowing. It wasn't until a few months later at my youth's purity ball, yes, we signed pledges and wore rings to signify our abstinence for God and marriage, that my dad delivered this humiliating speech. He told the congregation he was proud of the strong lady I had become, that regardless of having a boyfriend, I stood up to teen peer pressure and hormones, and that he witnessed me deflect an attempt at immoral behavior while watching movies with my boyfriend one night. Apparently, the blinds had been open and my bed faced them from in the house. He happened to be walking in from the garage and caught a peek at me removing my boyfriend's hand from my boob. I was mortified. The secret he must never know. The night I got my first orgasm, he thought I deflected my boyfriend from touching my boobs, when in reality I was actually directing him much further south. One time I dropped an entire roll of toilet paper into the bowl when trying to change it. I didn't want them to know I ruined an entire roll, so I hid it in my closet, and over a course of a few weeks I would rip away pieces and throw them away. You went to an extreme length to get away with that. It's the Shawshank method. My dad thinks I lost my virginity earlier than I actually did. He thought he'd walked in on me post-sex with my girlfriend at the time, but we'd actually just been play fighting, and the moment he walked in was the moment she decided to put the strap for her top back on her shoulder. After that I find out my dad's told half of my family about this, and despite me trying to tell him I hadn't done anything, he claimed to have believed me, but didn't, so he'll never know when I actually did, because he believes a lie. This happened in my freshman year of high school, so one of my friends got a hold of some weed, and I haven't tried it before, so we had the stupid idea to smoke it. He came over along with some other friends of mine. The original plan was to go to forest near my house to smoke it, but it was cold so we didn't want to. One of us wanted to smoke it on my porch, but I disagreed. I forgot how, but we came up with the stupidest idea and hotbox in my bathroom. Keep in mind my parents were gonna be home from work in an hour, and if they found out my life would be done. We quickly made a shitty bong out of a Gatorade bottle, then removed everything from my bathroom. We lit up the weed and smoked for like 10 minutes. Once we were done we quickly cleaned up and emptied a whole Axe bottle in the bathroom. My friends, being stoned as left. I went back upstairs to check the bathroom and it smelled like flat out weed. I tried to use every possible thing to get the smell out, but it didn't work. I called my parents, they have the same job, and they said they were 15 minutes away. I knew I was Now keep in mind my parents are extremely strict, and if they caught me I would be over. This is when I thought of the stupidest thing any sane human would think. Burn my bathroom down. I ended up lighting some towels on fire and trying my hardest to burn the sink area. It ended up catching on fire, but it was slow. I quickly called 911 and 3 minutes later fire department. I see fire trucks out my house. They took care of the fire and my parents came home shocked. Half of my bathroom was charred and the door knocked down. Fire department said it was probably an electrical current from the outlet that burned a towel. I slept that night thinking how stupid I was and what I just did. To this day my parents don't know. When you guys went to Hawaii I put Milo Cat down. He was sick, in incredible pain, couldn't eat or drink, couldn't even move to get to the litter box. When you left on vacation he was too weak to even yowl in pain anymore. I couldn't stand to see that cat in so much pain and so afraid, so I did the only thing I could do to help him end his life humanely. My parents were 100% against putting down a pet regardless of how much it is suffering, so they'd be beyond mad if they knew this. Putting a pet to sleep is never easy, but you absolutely did the right thing. Milo was probably thanking you for it. It was me who superglued the fridge shut. I just blamed it on my brother. Replaced bourbon from a priceless bottle of liquor with Evan Williams when I was 15. I found out later my parents were saving the bottle for their 50th anniversary. It was given to them by my great-grandpa at their wedding. Still have 23 years to break the news. You have the internet, and 23 years to find a replacement. Put together a bang-ass collection of rare bourbon and an eloquent apology speech. He might be able to find the same bourbon honestly. Plus, bourbon doesn't age in the bottle, so it'll be the exact same shit.